Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Big Questions, Small Steps. My name is Amanda, and I'm so glad to see you today. Today, we're going to continue on with our little series about the New Testament. As you may recall, I grew up in Christianity, and during my time in Christianity, I was a Sunday school teacher and a confirmation teacher. Now, that all prepared me and led to my questioning to eventually leave Christianity. But there are many that may be on this journey to find their truth, and they may not have the same understandings I do. So we have this series about the New Testament, and in this New Testament, I'm going to share with you some of the stories that we taught. I'm going to share the connections that we made, how it applied to their lives, and then I'm going to share some of the questions and confusions or problems I have with the story. Yeah, okay. So today in the New Testament, we are going to do the story of Jesus and the little children. Please join me. So Jesus and the Little Children is a story that many speak of when they're talking about kids being born and Jesus being so wonderful and accepting. So we're going to read the story again. And again, it's going to come from the Good News Bible, today's English version, because that's the Bible that I was gifted when I started doing more in-depth Sunday school work in third grade. So Jesus blesses the children. That story actually comes from the book of Mark, who is one of the gospel writers. And we are in chapter 10, verses 13 through 16. So it's a short passage, but it's a very popular story. Jesus and the little children, or Jesus blesses the little children. Okay. Now, I should also note that there are snippets of this story in other books as well. So you will find little pieces of this story in Matthew chapter 19, verses 13 through 15, and Luke chapter 18, verses 15 through 17. It'll be very similar versions with slight differences. So let's take a peek at the Mark version, and then we'll jump to the other ones, okay? So here we go. Jesus blesses the little children. Some people brought children to Jesus for him to place his hands on them, but the disciples scolded the people. When Jesus noticed this, he was angry and said to his disciples, "Let the children come to me, and do not stop them, because the kingdom of God belongs to such as these. I assure you that whoever does not receive the kingdom of God like a child will never enter it." Then he took the children in his arms, placed his hands on each of them, and blessed them. Okay, so you can kind of picture this guy in this. It's supposed to be that he's giving this speech to a whole group of people, and there are these kids mingling around, and the parents are basically saying, "Oh, look, there's Jesus. I want you to go touch him or go say hi or whatever." Kind of like in a parade. I picture it kind of like a Walt Disney World parade where they're seeing all the different characters that walk by, and oh, look, there's Mickey, and oh, there's this, and let's take a picture with them. Okay, and Jesus sees that the other people around are getting irritated because they want to hear what Jesus says, and they keep pushing the kids away because they're distracting Jesus from what he's saying. And Jesus basically stops them and says, "Hey, the kids have the right idea. They want to come to see me. They should be coming to see me, so stop stopping them." Okay, let's take a look at the other versions of that. So we have Matthew 19, verses 13 through 15. Let's take a peek. Matthew 19, verses 13 through 15. Okay, so here's this version. Some people brought children to Jesus for him to place his hands on them and to pray for them. But the disciples scolded the people. Jesus said, "Let the children come to me, and do not stop them, because the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these." He placed his hands on them and then went away. Okay, so similar version, a couple of differences. Just interesting that the wording has changed slightly. And in both of those versions thus far, like what he's saying is in quotes, which would make you think, okay, this is a direct quote. He's actually recording what is actually being said. Okay, now we're going to jump to Luke 18, because that's our next version. Luke 18. These pages are so thin in the Bible. Luke 18, and I forgot the verses. 15 through 17. Luke 18, 15 through 17. Okay, so here's this version. Some people brought their babies to Jesus for him to place his hands on them. The disciples saw them and scolded them for doing so. And Jesus called the children to him and said, "Let the children come to me, and do not stop them, because the kingdom of God belongs to such as these. Remember this, whoever does not receive the kingdom of God like a child will never enter it." So again, the wording is very similar, but in that version, it was just babies. Now, could that mean children? Could the term babies be more generic? Possibly. But this common story in 3 different writers, perhaps, we don't know exactly who wrote the Gospels. It's 3 slightly different versions. Okay, so when I would teach this to the children, I typically would talk about that we don't know what the children looked like, but Jesus welcomed them all. It didn't matter if they had a dirty diaper. It didn't matter if they had cake smudged on their face. It didn't matter if they had curly hair. It didn't matter what color skin they had. That Jesus wanted them all to feel his love. He wanted to welcome all of them into the kingdom of God. Okay, so we focused more on that every child is special and every person is special. And we just focused on that. So we talked a lot about the differences within different people within our class, and would Jesus love you if you had glasses? Would Jesus love you if you didn't like the color black? Like all these different things that we would talk about. And the kids seemed to get it. But it did seem a little bit weird to them that they would want to go up to Jesus because they don't have a lot of references. So I would try to pull in the parade thing. So if you saw Bluey in a parade, would you want to say hi to him? Then yeah, they typically would. Okay, so in their head, they had to like switch it from Jesus, who is this figure that a lot of people talk about in Sunday school, but they don't really connect a whole bunch to. So we switch it to more of a celebrity type figure, and then they're able to flip it in their minds. Now, part of what I have a problem with in this story, again, is there's 3 different versions and they're slightly different. They all focus around Jesus, and it is a well-known fact that I have problems with Jesus. I don't think he was anything special. I don't think it was his place to necessarily be scolding people for doing anything. To say that the kingdom of God is only open to people who accept him as these children so wonderfully and glorious. It kind of indicates to me like, oh no, I will only accept you into my kingdom if you don't have any questions and if you just blindly adore me. That creates problems for me in my mind. Now, there are things I like about the story. I like the idea of, again, everyone is important and everyone is valued, and seeing each person for what they could contribute. I like seeing that. I like viewing things through that frame of mind. Even if I have a teammate at work who perhaps is not necessarily the quickest at completing their tasks, but they're very good at interacting with customers, I can see the value of that. I don't have to necessarily be their friend, but I can see the value in that. I struggle with the idea of people dictating who is good enough to enter the kingdom of God. I struggle with that. And I struggle with the idea that making sure you're good enough is already addressed in the Jewish scriptures. The story is nice, wonderful, lovely. This concept of what do you need to do to be a good and righteous person, it's already in the Jewish scriptures. You don't need this story to fulfill it. It's just a story. You don't need this story to understand God in a new way. It's already in the Jewish scriptures. So I used to enjoy teaching this lesson, but I don't see the relevance in this lesson anymore. It's already in the Jewish scriptures. I don't need to rehash everything and do everything again. It's already there. So I have to take that and move forward, because the more you know, the more you grow. And I'm grateful for all of my knowledge that I have learned thus far. If you learned something in today's video, please go ahead and like, and then also hit that subscribe button so you can be notified the next time we push out more information on these series and any other videos that we do. Okay, until we see you next time, please take care. Bye-bye.